Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Agurim Sameach. Oh, Chodesh Tov. Oh, yes. You are at a different time.
Yeah, right.
That is your sacred life. Thank you for sharing that with us. What a beautiful Chanukia. Thank you, Ko.
Yeah.
So I am going to light another candle. It's just not time to light the Hanukkah candles yet, but just to light a candle for you, inviting you to light a candle or an inner candle. Number of people who said they would make it today are not making it. So we're small, we're recording, and perhaps that is appropriate for this more inward time of year, that we be that in that a little cave together. So where's my shin there? There we go. So I'm just gonna turn off my heater because I'm it makes a little bit of noise. So welcome, everybody. Welcome from where you are. Exactly where you are, wherever you are. Let's do the chant to go in the dark that some of you know with me. I'll just put up the words on the screen and
Reb Diane, I have a question about it because now there's two versions to that melody.
yeah, I looked it up on I've heard different versions, but this is, I've also seen it attributed to different composers. And this, as far as I can ascertain, this is the one that the composer who composed it intended, but who knows, you know, things shift. Even I've heard so many versions of Shefa's melodies in different places. So I just, you know, choose the one that you like the best or that sticks in your awareness.
After Healing Circle, I found the one that you did, so I listened to it.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that, though. I'm going to just change my, if I can find my thing here, I'm going to change to a different, there, a little warmer light. So here's the screen. There we go. So, just inviting us to really receive the message of this little poem by Wendell Berry, that this is a time where often light is emphasized and there's a lot of effort and attention given to counteracting the darkness, canceling out the darkness in some way, or bringing lights, or valorizing the light that's hidden in the darkness and that we want to bring forth. And this little poem reminds us of the gift of darkness, the resting, the nurturance, how much we are attuned and need the dark for our own well-being, for our own health, nourishment, processing, literal dark, and also the gifts of that which is many shades of not white, not light. So here's the version that I've been playing with, living with. Welcome, Ahuva. Hi.
Hi,
Glad you're with us.
me too.
So we're about to do this chant that we've done in the healing circle the last couple times that I've been there. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go
Go dark,
go
go with it
outside
outside
and
and
find that the dark too blooms and sings and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. That's a little bit unexpected at the end where it goes. The melody. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Maybe you want to stand or just feel your feet and your wings. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Feeling those dark feet connecting with earth through floor, through shoes. And where do your wings begin? And what are dark wings? To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Da, 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 da. Oh, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. And just take a moment to really feel your feet wherever you are, to let them spread. And when I think of, I don't know about you, when I think of dark feet, I think of feet that are merging somehow with the blackness, darkness or brownness of the earth. Sinking in a little bit, connecting, feeling resourced by the mycelial network, the plant network, and growing little rootlets. And those are perhaps my darker feet. And where do your wings root? Maybe between your shoulder blades or to the edges of your shoulder blades somehow. And what is the relationship between your dark feet and your dark wings? I'm thinking of the cherubim, perhaps, or the chayot, those energetic beings that only have one foot. The angels, messengers that Isaiah speaks about with the 6 wings, the protecting wings, the expansive wings, the covering wings. And what does it feel like to go in the dark? Maybe closing your eyes and just doing a little bit of movement. To go, perhaps, in your space carefully, using hands and feet and surfaces to guide you through touch so that you don't trip, stumble, bump into anything, but you're feeling your way and bringing up those other senses that come alive in the dark. And there's a kind of seeing that happens in the dark too, where gradually our eyes do adjust and we see a lot more than we think we can see when there's no light. It takes some time. What do you notice in your body? Is there any sort of shift in your breath, or does it feel supportive, or is it frightening, or is it restful? Is there nurturance? So I'd like to invite us now to transition into the Rebbe Nachman niggin that we heard with Eileen last time when some of us were together. And the movement that I have connected with that nigun. And maybe since we have our wings and feet of darkness, we can imagine that we are actually drawing the gifts of that darkness right down through ourselves, inside ourselves, as we chant first it comes from above, so the cosmic darkness, the darkness that's out there, space illuminated, of course, by stars at night. Sun blots out the darkness during the daytime, but it's out there. And then we reach down on the second half of the niggin to the earth and draw that richness up. And we're starting in the belly center. Or you could encompass your whole solar plexus and belly. So we'll see that in this month of Tevet, the organ is liver. So it's a little bit higher. It's more in the middle section and more on the right, but does cross over to the left. Very dense, heavy organ. So starting in this area, and then here's how it goes with the nigun. Breathing in. Down to the belly or the liver. Breath. Then reaching to the earth. Drawing back to the belly. To the earth again.
Diane, I can't hear your voice at all back there.
Okay, I have to turn on the, here comes Evelyn. Thank you. So, thank you. Zoom keeps changing its parameters. I have to have the musician music on just to step back, which I didn't used to. We'll do it a couple more times. Welcome, Evelyn. We're doing Rebbe Nachman's Niggin with movement. And I was going to invite us to imagine again that as you reach out for this cosmic, this chiyut, the life force that's out in the cosmos, we're drawing that in. The darkness. Well, who knows what's out there? It might be infinite light, but dark and light. And drawing it into these organs. So liver is here, stomach is on the left, and then the intestines. Drawing that all the way in and down, and then hopefully you'll be able to hear my voice and do it with the movement with the nigun this time, with hearing that, and then reaching down and drawing up the rich darkness of earth, that energy back again to the belly center, and then spreading the wings in between each time, the dark wings. So here we go. Hope you can hear me. Breathe. Feeling those dark feet, dark wings, the gift of darkness. Light perhaps as space or shimmering within the darkness. That mixture of light and dark. let's just go right into the Yud Hey Vav Hey for Tevet, this first day of Tevet that we are. So the first letter is the Hey. The Hey and the Yud, the Vav and the Hey are reversed from their usual order within their two, their two-ness, their dyadicness. So the Hey and the Yud. So just perhaps drawing that vertical Hey, seeing which side the opening wants to be on above you. So shoulders and up and across, and maybe feeling the thickness of the brush strokes of your imaginal paintbrushes that are painting, scribing the Hey. Does it have a three-dimensionality in the carving of it? Sefer Yetzirah, the carving. And then from here the Yud comes right through the gateway that the Hey has opened, a little bit forward with the head. So that nodding of the Yud from the base of the skull to your third eye, back and forth, that's your Yud. And then I'm going to suggest that you draw another gateway with the second Hey out in front of you. And again, seeing which side the opening wants to be on, which hand wants to paint or carve the top crossbar. Maybe it alternates. So Hey, out here. It's coming back toward you with the feet standing around your body. And then the Vav is a dive right through the middle of that Hey. And I'm thinking of this just coming off the taproot retreat, is this Vav is like a taproot just going right down into the earth, carrying that energy, that life force down. So if we do the chant 7 times, just try it perhaps with me, but kind of finding your own way. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. Breathing in and up. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. How deep does that root go? And how high does this Hey reach? Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. Hey, Yud, Hey. Maybe this rotates. Vav. Maybe this is a spiral going down. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. Just allowing this movement to take you into a little free movement. Perhaps you want to stay with the shapes of the letters, turning or moving anywhere in your space. Perhaps you just want to release the letters and feel where your body wants to be. Let me give us a little bit of sound for this dance of continuing to arrive together.
הנירוס הללו אנחנו מדליקים על הניסים ועל הנפלאות שעשיסו לאבותינו בימים ההם ובזמן הזה. A candle, a flame, a mirror of a light from within. Can you see it as it flickers in the wind? It's a star, or can you see it now, far away? Or what does it seem to say?
Just if you are in a place where you can then connect with our other movers on the screen, if you wish.
אנחנו מדליקים על הניסים ועל הנפלאות
Taking a moment to be together and recalling what it's like when we're all in the same space and there's a resonant silence and we can still really feel each other, and how we can do that here also. So, backed a little bit, we'll just really briefly look to situate ourselves in this month of Tevet, and then move into a check-in, but just a little bit here to see. Tevet, Tevet. So this is just a little thumbnail. We just did the Hey Yud, Hey Vav. So in a minute maybe you'll share any insights or experience that came through in that configuration of the 4 letters. We said that the body part associated with this month is liver, the kabed, kaved, kabed. It's the same root as kavod. So think about that. Kavod, usually translated as honor or glory. Liver as probably the densest organ of the body, and it stores both energy in the form of glycogen, that nourishment that is, when we digest, is drawn out from our food and transformed into a usable energy source that is stored in our liver, and also things that sometimes we don't want to be in our bodies that are drawn out, toxins, poisons. So there's a kind of sometimes sense of heaviness or even bitterness, anger that we might hold in the liver. The healing of the month then is anger, and the energy is the purification and transformation. The way I want to language it is through intense emotions. So rather than trying to rid ourselves of any emotional response in this month, we're really opening to the emotions, any emotion that we might feel, feeling how we hold it in the body, letting it come through, to letting our feelings come through to the level of awareness, of consciousness, where we can hold them, be with them, nourish them, nurture them. Nurture them really is the word I want. Hold them, comfort them, validate them, these emotions, these feelings, and allow them then to move on, to move through, because emotions are movement. They're movement of sensation in the body, movement of the mind, of the consciousness. And any time that you can be present with an emotion is really a purifying experience. Purification is certainly a key quality and activity that we are carrying over from Kislev through the holiday of Hanukkah, which we have the last few days of in this month of Tevet, just the last day or so of Hanukkah. So there's a bridge there, and the purification, the image of the oil, the pure oil that we need to have this pure oil to light the lights of Hanukkah, and to find that balance of darkness and light in this dark time of the year, to value both. So similarly with our feeling states, we are allowing them to flow through us not holding on to them, not pushing them away, but riding them, surfing them, the waves of emotion, the sensations in the body, which is a purifying process that then allows us to light the lamp of the oil of Chokhmah, of wisdom, which is that light that is reminiscent, that is suggestive, or even actually a piece of the primordial light of awareness that the mystics speak about as being the first light, the light of creation, the first light that comes through the darkness. The other holy day of the month, the fast of the 10th of Tevet, recalls the breaching of the walls of Jerusalem, which eventually in the month of Av led to the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem by the Babylonians. So it's not a full fast. It's not as full a fast as, say, certainly not as Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av, but it is a day of remembrance, and also remembering, again, both kinds of effects when walls come down. It's can be awful, it can be horrifying, it can be frightening, and at the same time it can be when it's violent. And yet the breaching of walls, the coming down of walls, can also be a healing, an opening to different possibilities, a way of entering the world differently, relating to life differently. Again, what happens when we resist the binaries? And then the Hebrew letter ayin, eye, perception, discernment, insight, understanding, seeing with a good eye. And I think for me right now that's very much about how can I see beyond the apparent good, bad, evil, wonderful binaries that our human perceptual system tends to fall into. And some have said that the ayin looks like the two eyes and the nose, that nose where we sniff out what is nurturing or distinguish what is edible from inedible. And again, how can we expand that? The tribe of Dan, Din, the judge, finder of lost objects. The serpent, but the holy serpent that can weaken the power of the Yetzer Hara. So judgment, discernment as a necessary quality that is in balance with our chesed, our loving kindness, our accepting of everything, quality, containership, holy containership. The serpent that bites the heel, which is the image that comes from the blessing that Jacob gives to Dan at the end of his life. Gives to the tribe, the son, Dan, son of Bilhah, the handmaiden of Rachel. And then Capricorn, here we are coming into Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. Saturn can sometimes be perceived as limiting, putting pressure on us to get everything in order. But similarly to Dan, when in balance, there's this really healthy holding and balancing of the physical, our physical selves, with semi-permeable, flexible boundaries, and the discipline that leads to mastery, as when we practice a musical instrument or we do a spiritual practice, and we kind of hold to that structure, even at times when we don't want to be doing that. there's something that begins to build a kind of muscle that allows us to, in the best sense of the words, to become a Rav in our own lives, a master in our own lives. Tevet. So let's take some time to check in now with one another. What I invite is for you to share in a very essentialized form and in nugget form what you want to bring forth to become more present here today together. And if there's anything that you noticed from the practice that we've done so far, if you want to speak about that. Let's see, we want to be taking our break in about half an hour. So 7, 8, that gives us about 3 minutes each. So see if you can kind of self-time on this. And if it's going on too long, I'll just wave at you. Okay, would anyone like to begin? Anyone feel ready to? Okay, Carola.
I appreciate so much that it's Rosh Chodesh Tevet. And I this hey, the wings and my feet help me to center with the Yod and the Vav. So this inner light shines in the darkness. And I was blessed to lead a Sufi celebration on the midwinter solstice, including Hanukkah, with the focus for me of dedication, the inner temple, the heart space, the body, the house, the world. And so I feel blessed and very, very intensely sensitive to this kind of world around me, which is so cold, and repressed aggression of my neighbors because they are just judgmental. It's part of their life. And so I'm more able to deal with that by respecting that that's their way of seeing. But at the same time, I'm so cold. So the whole day today, I had to find ways to warm myself. And I put on music and I heard the Messiah and all the trumpets of the child born. And it brought me back in this childish, joyful, new birthing and rebirthing. So I carry that also in me now, that the light this darkness is like a generative wombing. So I have that double resonating still with that repressed anger. And I can solve it only by getting more tender and more vulnerable and putting the hearth on inside me. But I was so cold. Well, that was my day. With the Hanukkah lights already burning. So at the same time, there's lots of light and lots of support and lots of knowing that there are so many people in the light doing so many good things. So thank you.
Shamati. Thank you. Yeah. So let's just jump in, when you're hopefully someone will jump in.
So Tevet starts tonight? Tevet starts tonight, or it started last night, or?
Last night.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm ready. I need this. Carola knows so well how much I need to embody and fulfill this kind of the principles that you were talking about of Tevet. This lightness and this darkness, because for me, it translates into this the darkness of pain and sadness of my mother and how I feel. She is in such pain and she is so sad. And I feel so sorry for her. And so here we are reminded of the flip side of that emotion and that situation, which is lightness and happiness of my memories of her. And I know she was happy at times. She had lightness. So I can what's it called, like incorporate this into dancing and journaling and exploring and just being reminded of this juxtaposition. So I can be present today and get as much as I can from what we're doing to be in Tevet, and I hope it carries me for the month. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamati, Shamanu. We hear you.
For me, when the music started and the song was Nerot, the first phrase, I kind of really went with that, and the image of the candle as the flame of the soul, and I really got into the flame part and feeling the flame in different parts of my body, and in particular, like for Hanukkah, it's been really an easy week compared to other years, to really have time to sit with the candles and really look at them for that half hour or whatever. I've really been with them. And so I just spent time really working with the new part was the white part of the flame that was always going upward. I just could feel that interface between the edges of that and the space in my body, out of my body, and then was working with, I mean, I always think of the flame as in the heart and in the center and in the torso, and I was playing with it in other parts and in the relationship of them as triangles, of different aspects of the triangles within, head and hands and coccyx and feet, and really working with that as it overlaid onto the dark spaces and the light spaces. So that was a really lovely improvisation for me. And in the description of the reminder of all the different pieces of Tevet, the one that stood out for me, as I know is always a challenge for me, is discipline and structure. And I'm a double Capricorn, so it's very much a part of the nature of me to, I've been the whole idea of building muscle. Like I've really been trying to physically build muscle in my body, just with I'm more limited in my movement these days, but I've been trying to really enjoy the texture of the building of the muscles that I can actually work with in a good way. So that, I mean, of all the pieces, that sort of stood out for me, and the whole idea of Tevet in general, to take the dark and holy anger, and really work with the kedusha that's inherent in everything, in all the parts that we see as negative or ayin ra or yetzer ra. Like the question for the month of how do you pull kedusha out of that? So that's kind of the question that I am playing with. Dibarti.
Shamati, Shamanu. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Simona. Beautiful.
I can speak. Very touched by what everyone said, and my heart goes out to Gigi, and I love her too, and sending health blessings. I very thoughtful about her work and her life, and so thank you for sharing that, Joanna, and of course holding you too. I love it when my whole family's together, as we are often not. This the four of us, that our little group, and we had a wonderful time lighting candles and playing Pictionary last night. And it was just, we just laughed so hard. I couldn't stop laughing. And wow, what a tikkun to laugh like that, you know, and to be with the kids. And then, you know, they were happy together. Oh, wow, that was new. And it was good, just good. So that was, so I'm really feeling sort of happy and tickled by that. When I've also been more attentive to really taking the time to watch the candles, and I don't know why, but Hanukkah candles, well, I have an important yard site coming up, and I remember, of course, Hanukkah as the sort of setting for that. But I always look at those candles and think, well, there's that happy family, and they're all dancing in the flames. And then one by one, they diminish, and then they, of course, extinguish. And I'm sort of moved through the meaningfulness of the life cycle. If you don't pay attention to the candles, it happens very quickly. But if you're paying attention, there's such a fullness of life and movement and light and joy and sharing and the extra brightness that comes from all being together. So I'm in a very good place for that, at a lovely concert, not a concert, a lovely service on Friday night with all kinds of new music. And so that was a pleasure for me. And I'm in a pretty good place right now. And in many other ways, I'm like, who am I? What am I doing? But I'm not there right now. So it feels really good. And I really wanted to check in with you all and see your beautiful faces and send my love. So, Dibarti.
Shamanu, Shamati. Thank you for forsaking your family momentarily to join this other family who love you and laugh with you. Thank you, Evelyn.
I have been finding laughter to be particularly helpful. I had a really deep wounding from my friend who comes down every winter from Canada, who lit into me and isn't exactly clear what it was all about, but I've been trying to, uh, shake it off in some way, and also look at, why and what do I want to do about it. And, you know, it feels really deep and difficult, and, going back all the way to family abuse, and, it's hard. And, the the thing that's helped me through it is laughter. And so I about the movement, what I found was that I kept doing kind of Tai Chi movements with the hay, with the heart, the horizontal hay. And it felt really good. It felt really like stretching and good, and um, moving my body in ways that felt good, rather than the vertical that feels always difficult. So I've had a lot of back issues recently that make that really impossible. So finding joy in the horizontal instead of trying to go against what my body needs by doing vertical. And really happy to be with you all today.
Shamanu, Shamati. Thank you, Ahuva.
So I'll go next. Well, there are various kinds of stress tests, and I think I've been experiencing many of them since I last saw y'all. My father passed away on November 26th. And then a week later, my husband developed pneumonia. And so he's been in and out of the hospital like 3 times. And so it's just been like really going into falling, like I feel like everything's just sort of falling apart. And holding on to the light of Shabbos, the light of Hanukkah has been really important, really like, okay, there's something I can hang with. And, I tend to overcommit and overdo, and it's pretty much forced me to not do that. So, I am experiencing being supported by a lot of people. I have a lot of soup and phone calls, and it's like a little overwhelming, the being held, and I'm trying to just relax into that and not feel like, oh well, I should give them something, or I have to do that. It's this very interesting time of being in the dark, being in the place of potential transformation, but I'm not there yet. I'm just finished Shloshim. I just feel like a little spun out and spun up, but not bad. I don't know how to describe it. Just sort of like, I think I'm just kind of in shock about the whole thing. Not shocking that my father died. He was 98, and it was certainly time. And I got to be the shomer or whatever, and be present when he passed. And so, taking care of David, that's why I'm like a little late and a little distracted. Also, just, that's what's being called for. So I'm someone said to me, oh, well, you're getting your merit badge in caretaking. I said, yes, thank you very much. It didn't really apply, but oh well. So all I can say is I'm kind of just being with the sadness and being with the chaos. And I'm hoping that in the next week or so, I can have space to really start to integrate it all. So, the party.
Shamanu. Yeah, holding. Actually, think you have a number of merit badges already, Rhonda, but
Holding you, Holy Sister. Yeah. Last week, during the beginning of Hanukkah, in a meditation, I saw this dark flame of the Shekhinah come in, like black, dark flame with that deep blue at the bottom. And it's been very present. It was present as we were singing the Dark Wings, and it just feels very present in this whole holiday. And it's very warming. It's like this warm, even though it's been really cold here, it's starting to warm up, but we had snow and ice and everything shut down. It's warming and raining, but it's this very like deep heat, like that deep kind of core earth heat. And so when we were doing the movement, I felt in the song I felt my whole back body, like when you were talking about rooting, Diane, I felt like the base of the shoulder blades, the sits bones, and the heels, like just rooted. And then the wings came. And during one of the days that it was just ice out there, a whole murder of crows came into our yard. These, I mean, gigantic, dark winged creatures. It was amazing. So I just had that as I was moving. And then I really, and then the spiral that you were suggesting, perhaps, of that vav into the earth again, just that deep rooting and the spiral energy that just I played with a lot in the dance of the letters. And in terms of the energy of the month, I'm also like, I think, Simona, you mentioned about the discipline piece, like, and the thing that leads to mastery. And the thing that, Diane, that jumped out for me was this becoming a Rav in our own lives. Like, that's what, I mean, I'm doing in my own life and for the service of others. And this last year, and I anticipate the next 2 years are going to be, things drop away. Like, I couldn't come to the circle the last 2 months. Like, it couldn't happen. And so I'm so grateful to be here today and to have coming here with all of you and all that you bring, and allowing this time to root me, to open up some spaciousness, to just really breathe, and feel the whole being, and just sense perhaps a little bit of integration in all of this that is transforming me into the ongoing becoming of what the Holy One wants. So thank you. It's great to be here, Dibarti.
Shamanu. Wow. So I'm just coming off the Taproot retreat, in-person retreat, and it's hard to even speak about all that happened. And the challenges and the gifts. It was just immense. And I was reminded of the power of being in person, and how, of course, we were also on this amazing land in Bolinas by the ocean, and there were all of the fears, even though we had a very, very strict COVID protocol, but the fears of taking the mask off and being together, and we never really fully went inside. Like, we always had our meals pretty much outside, because people were actually coming and going, so we couldn't really be a pod isolated. As when we did this a year ago, nobody came or went during the whole retreat, so we were able to eventually, after days of testing, to take our masks off. And yet this group, it's a new cohort, it's a whole new configuration of the stewardship team. It's amazing, and it's really, really hard work. So I'm looking at all my language, all the assumptions I have about what's good and what's bad, and because this is a different generation, and they are militantly non-binary. So that's kind of an oxymoron, but also soft in their beings and willing to explore and change and take responsibility for their own reactivity. So the first night of Hanukkah on the retreat was an explosion. You know, I hate this holiday. It took a really long time before we could even light the candles, and what we had intended to bring of the mystic, no, it became a political discussion, and that maybe we really should focus on the military victory and look at what happened, which is the Hashmoneh, who it was not just a war against the Greeks, it was also a civil war against the Hellenized Jews, and, you know, devolved into despotic, tyrannic rule for a couple hundred years afterwards. And maybe we should look at that and notice how the victims become the victimizers. And I was like, I went into freeze. Somehow we kept holding the space, and then we moved through it the next day. I had a bad night, but I had many bad nights on the retreat. By bad, I mean, you know, let's be non-binary. They were productive, like a few hours of sleep and then a few hours of fomenting what needs to happen tomorrow, you know, and what am I doing here and what's my role here and what can I offer people. And it was really, really quite amazing. And this is just the beginning of the program. So we have 6 months going forward. So, and the movement today, the Yud Hey Vav Hey, I'm kind of with you, Ahuva. I mean, I love the vertical. I love it to hang out there. But I'm really getting into the horizontal. And this movement, this kind of swimming and being with the world. And yeah, just enjoying that, resonating, Rhonda, with what you said about receiving support, accepting it, being in connection in the web of community in a different way, which is necessary now in my life too, because I needed to really set some stuff up for Bert before I left, and I'd never done it before and waited to the last minute. And it was easy to do because we're part of a community here of people who, we have structures of care here. But it was hard to receive that. It was hard to reach out and receive. And I know that's not the case for everybody. Not everybody has that kind of community. I feel very, very grateful. And even just to feel the gratitude is important for me. So just a tiny story to close. Yesterday, I went for a long bike ride on my new bike. It was a beautiful day. It was so gorgeous down by the bay, and I decided I needed some frozen peas to make this dish. And so I stopped at our local neighborhood market, which I haven't, all the years we've lived here, I barely go there because, you know, it's kind of the neighborhood market set up for the Sikh community and the Hispanic community, and it doesn't have much organics, but it's very well stocked, actually. And so I went in for the frozen peas, and I saw at the checkout line there was my neighbor, Yolanda, buying eggs. And at first I sort of didn't recognize her because I only see her walking the dogs, you know. She's an African-American woman, and we've had a, you know, cordial relationship ever since they moved in. We've exchanged gifts. And I had something I wanted to give her for Christmas. It was, Bert bought it by mistake. It was this beautiful box of Christmas, quote, candies, but they're all healthy. They're made out of dates and pecans and things like that. But they look like truffles, but they're gorgeously put together, decorated. And he got two. One was a Christmas box by accident, and the other was a Hanukkah box. And I wanted to give her the Christmas box. I saw her in the store, and she recognized me, even though I had a mask on. Nobody in the store had him. She said, "Hi, Diane." And I said, "Oh, Yolanda, I'm so surprised you recognized me with this mask on." She said, "Oh yeah, I recognized you." So we talked. She told me that she's expecting her first grandchild, and I said, "Well, I have something for you that I want to give you." She said, "Oh, thank you so much." And she always ends our interactions with, "I appreciate you." And so when I got home, I went over next door and I brought this little box, and I said, you know, "Merry Christmas." I gave her this. She said, "Oh, thank you." And she said, "And you celebrate Hanukkah, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, we do." She said, "Here, happy Hanukkah." And she handed me a bottle of wine, and we had that night, that horizontal moment. And yeah, I'm just, urban life is not very kind, and people don't know their neighbors. And it's hard to reach out sometimes. People are so different. But we did. And that felt good. Dibarti. Let's take a 5-minute break.
Manu.
Thank you. 5-minute break, and we'll come back and then dive in a little more. See you in a few minutes.
Carola, while we're still on break, I just want to let you know that I'd incorporated some of that Emmet practice that you had shared into the Avodah, an alternate Avodah service at Yom Kippur. It was so powerful. And if I can get it together on this winter break, I'll share with you what I did. I'll send it to the group because it was so, but it was inspired by what you did. And I just want to thank you so, so much because
Well, thank you.
in that horizontal, right, it ended up going out to the whole Panay Or of Portland community.
Great. Well, happy. Good. You know, I learned it from Reb Zalman because, like, when he said Melech, remember, he always said Moach, Lamet, Lev, and what it is for the liver, the kavet, the Koa. So by that example, I learned to do it with many words like that, like olam, or put it like a vertical connection, and then breathe with it and play with it. Right. Well, good. Yes, I look forward to your what you can share. Thank you.
נברך את המקום, המקום שלום. נברך את המקום, המקום שלום. המקום שלום, המקום שלום, המקום שלום, המקום שלום. Peace and quiet, calm and stillness, silent, soothing space. Peace and quiet, calm and stillness, silent, soothing space.
So welcome back. In this ending of the calendar year, I wanted to share with you some bits of things I've been working on for many years, working with a kind of journey through the endocrine system and connecting that. We'll see how far we get, but with the sphirot, the chakras, and it really provides the endocrine system provides a very different kind of network of support for verticality. It's the body system, the way we approach it in body-mind centering. So this will be a somatic experience with some anatomy and physiology today and some inward discovery of this scaffolding. I almost think of it like Jacob's ladder in a very subtle way in the body, but a very powerful way. The endocrine glands, different from other glands that are called exocrine, they're a kind of a second kind of communication system in the body. There's the nervous system and the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is often called the neuroendocrine system because it interacts with the nervous system to communicate. And it works differently. So the nervous system has long channels of nerve fibers, which are cells that conduct information quite rapidly, but in these directional channels, through shifting between chemical and electrical charge. So neurotransmitters. They cross at the synapse, and then they change the charge on the surface of the cell, and that's how the energy is communicated. And the whole system is insulated by myelin, which you could say it is a form of fat. So we could think about oil and fat and how the nervous system works and lights up. Bing, our inner candle flame, our inner electricity. The endocrine system works through the blood. And it works through a system of hormones, which are chemical substances that are secreted directly into the blood. So it's a giveaway when there's a glandular presence in an area of the body where there's a lot of blood supply there. They're sometimes called ductless glands. So there are other glands that have ducts that sort of direct things, but this is this global, and it's a whole feedback loop. So one hormone will trigger a loop of other hormonal responses. And we don't often really pay enough attention to this. When all of the glands, they're either a single gland or a pair, or sometimes like the parathyroids, they're actually two pairs, so there are 4 of them. And they're all located along the center line of the body. So when we activate the connections between them, they vibrate almost like, I didn't bring anything visual to show you. I will in a minute. I have diagrams, but oftentimes use like a string of beads or something. They're very much like the spherote, except the spherote are not just a straight string. They're 3 columns with all the connections. And they tune to each other. They vibrate. So you can work with them spatially, like locating where they are in the body, feeling the energetic connections between them. They're all along the center line, basically, or close to the center line, not out here, but the spherote are more there, but we'll correlate some of that. So you can work with them energetically. You can begin to notice, is there way more energy in this glandular area than in some others? Can you spread the energy out, rebalance it? Can you align them physically? And we do that in the hands-on work by just basically touching 2 points at a time, 2 glands at a time, and noticing, is there a connection? Is there no connection energetically? Is it skewed? Is it twisted? And just by staying there, you begin to find that connection. This creates an entire energetic scaffolding for our verticality. Much more subtle and much more transcendent and energetic, and in some ways much more powerful than our bones and muscles, which we over-rely on to find our vertical. So what I'd like to do is take us on a little guided journey today. Oftentimes the way we will activate the glands is through sound, different kinds of sound, vocal sounding or sibilant sounds. I haven't quite yet looked closely enough to make the connection with the Sefer Yetzirah and all the sounds, because I'm sure there is one, but or many. But it's the beginning of an exploration together, and also I'll share sort of where I've gotten over many years of working with this. So I want to show you a few pictures, and then we'll look at the anatomy, and then I will guide you through a journey and see what this map, this ladder, this scaffolding is like, and if what you notice, like areas perhaps in your own glandular system that feel underactive, overactive, absent in some way. And you can work with the glandular energies even if the structure isn't there, even if there's been a surgical removal of something, or if you were missing it at birth or whatever. They are like tiny crystals, each gland. So when we locate them, and you touch them in yourself, it's like touching the points of a crystalline structure and beginning to feel the energy of the crystals and how then these different crystals connect with one another. So if you've ever made an altar or been at an altar where there's different objects consciously placed in relationship around the altar, that is has a glandular quality to it, an endocrine quality to it. We bring that energy in. So let me share here.
May I ask something, Diane, connected to this?
Yeah.
I remember Alan Dosick mentioning that the whole endocrine system is much more important in the future because it has to do with relationality, with that it governs a sense of like it's the central, you centralize it, yeah, you say it goes through the center, but in a way it is connected to all relations.
Yeah,
Like
I remember Ellen talking about the endocrine system was going to replace the immune system.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that rather than, although the endocrine system is very intersecting also with the immune system, but
Yeah.
it's a different way of communicating, and it's very relational. And here's just before we look at the actual physical anatomy, this is a more of a an energy picture of the glands as I have experienced them. And you can see that I'm also made the color, so there's like their energy centers like chakras. And then even though it's close to the center line, you can see that this ladder has similarities with the way the Sephirot are arranged. So what we're going to do today is touch on the whole system. Maybe we'll see where we get, but a special emphasis on the head glands, which are about dark and light. So really relevant for Hanukkah and this time of year and that balance. But when we work with the endocrine system, it's really helpful and important to actually touch on the whole system, even if you're going to focus in one or two areas, because the energy needs to be spread. You need to feel the whole system because of that very thing that you just said, Carola, that it's relational, and you don't want to bring one thing up and throw it out of balance. So you have to rebalance, and touching on the whole system is the beginning of a rebalancing process. So I'm going to be naming this system a few times over and over again. You don't have to try to remember the names, but it's good to hear them and to begin to connect the sound of the names of the glands with the feelings in our bodies, with the Sephirot. This is a many-layered kind of practice that we could probably spend the whole next year just playing with this. And another aspect of the glands is their creativity and their expressiveness. So for those of us who do art practices of any kind, or, cooking or anything where you are kind of bringing forward your sensitivities and putting elements together and creating something, whether it's visual art, music, dance, writing, poetry, singing, cooking, planting a garden, or whatever, there is very much a glandular support and activation that we need. The glands need to express their energy, not just contact it and wake it up. Once they've been awakened, it needs to have pathways to move out. And that's why in body mind centering we also connect each gland with different bones and parts of the skeletal system that can carry limbs that can carry the glandular energy out into the world, as well as abstract energetic structures that carry and express the energy. So I'm just going to name from the bottom going up with the little cursor here. So we've got the perineal body. We found this place before. We'll look at it again. It's the center base of the pelvis. It's a little, looks like a little almost muscular ligamentous tissue. And then backward from that, a couple inches, is the coccygeal body. So we have the center, the base of the pelvis, and then the little glandular center that is inside the tip of your coccyx, your tailbone. They're called bodies, not glands, because no hormone has been identified, but they seem very much to have glandular energy, and there's a lot of blood supply. And then we move up to the ovaries or the testes. The testes begin inside the fetus and drop down to outside, but they sort of begin inside the body, and the ovaries obviously inside the body, and there's a pair of them. So that more just kind of inside, we'll find the touch points for those, but inside the hip, medial to your hip sockets. And then we move into, there's glands in the whole digestive tract. So these are called the digestive glands, and they facilitate digestion. Ovaries obviously are about reproduction, producing, not producing, but releasing the eggs. And then we go to the kidneys and the adrenals. The kidneys have glandular-like properties, although they're mostly thought of as an organ. But they have different cells within the kidneys that do glandular functions. And then right on top of the kidneys, the adrenal glands, which are very activated, much of the time overactivated or exhausted in our stress-laden world. And we'll work with those a bit. And then we move up to the pancreas. That's this little figure 8 here. Pancreas has both organ and glandular properties. Has to do insulin, obviously, with the digestion of sugars, and has a very, it's a horizon between the lower and upper body. We consider it like a horizon gland, and the energy really shifts. And we'll look at how it is there right in the center. And these are the energetic pictures, not the organ pictures. The actual pancreas, for instance, begins in the center and moves off to the left toward kind of back behind your stomach. But the energy touch point for it is in the center here. Then we move up to the base of the sternum. Behind that, there's an energy center in your breathing diaphragm that's called the thoracobody. You won't see that in any anatomy book. This is a Bonnie Kahn identified glandular center, non-traditional. And she feels it and imagines it and senses it about an inch behind your xiphoid process, the base of the sternum, in the diaphragm muscle. It's a breathing gland, regulating breath. And then we move up to the heart bodies. So in the wall, the ventricular wall of the heart, there are glandular type fibers, which also seem like nerve fibers. There are some crossover. Purkinje fibers, we call them the heart bodies. And they regulate the speed of the heartbeat. And when that gets out of whack, there's fibrillation, there's irregular heartbeat. They try to do ablations and various things to calm that down or re-regulate the heart. And then behind the top of the sternum, your manubrium, is your thymus gland. And that is literally considered the gland of the immune system. And it's it was in the past thought to completely atrophy after about the age of 12 and disappear, but they have been showing that it continues and can continue to be active into adulthood and the T cells are produced there that then migrate to the lymph nodes and out. So each of these glandular centers has many ways, energetic ways of thinking and talking about it. And Bonnie identifies this gland center, the thymus, with the quality of valor, which is a flavor of courage, you could say. And then we move up to the throat center. So for me in the Sphirot, this is lower Da'at, but today, often lower Da'at, today I'm going to identify it more with Chesed and Gevura. And so we have the thyroid, which is a kind of H-shaped gland that straddles your windpipe right below your vocal mechanisms, right beneath the vocal cartilages that produce the sounds of our voice. And then on the back surface is the 4 little dots of the parathyroids, which regulate calcium absorption, among other things. And the thyroid has to do with growth and development physically. And they used to, when they would remove the thyroid by like a goiter, they didn't know that the parathyroids were there in the past, and then the person would go completely haywire because they had removed these other glands that they weren't compensating for with any kind of medication. Then we come up to, again, 2 what are called the carotid bodies. So this is right beneath the angle of your jaw on either side in the little bifurcation of the carotid arteries. Bonnie calls these the glands of silence, and they have to do with the blood flow to the brain. And then we move up into the head, and I'm going to continue to identify these with Chesed and Gevura today, for today anyway. And then we move to the head. There are 3 glands. So here's the pituitary, third eye, often called the master gland, because it is involved in many different loops, feedback loops of hormonal feedback loops. And it affects it's in communication with many of the other glands, especially the adrenal glands, and then having to do also with lactation, initiating labor in pregnancy, and it has a front and a back lobe. So for me, this is very much Da'at. And Da'at, as you may recall, is the lower manifestation of Keter, which is going to be beyond our map, beyond this map above. And then in the middle, the 2 small, these are underneath the cortex. I think underneath. I don't think they're within the cortex. I have to check that again. But these are called the mammillary bodies, 1 on either side. So if we identify the pituitary with kind of forward vision, ein, very much that seeing the light. We live in a very pituitary culture, very much looking forward to ahead and wanting to live always in the light. Mammillary bodies are much more about presence in the now, and they're the highest, vertically speaking, if you're standing, the uppermost glands. And then coming down and back a little bit again, kind of nestled in with the nervous system, is the pineal gland. So if the pituitary has to do with light and future vision and forward, the mammillaries have to do with presence and nowness, and they're the highest physically. The pineal is a little bit lower, moving back, and it's the gland of darkness. Esoterically, the gland of ancient knowing. It's already heading back down the energy is moving back down toward the coccygeal body in a loop from this gland. So pineal, mammillary bodies, pituitary, carotids, thyroids, parathyroids, thymus, heart, thoraco-breathing body, pancreas, adrenals, resting on the kidneys, just above the kidneys, digestive glands, gonads, coccygeal body, perineal body. I think you can begin to get a sense that these can align into our triangles of the Sephirot. So I'm going to show you a few other images. This is just drawing kind of the attempt to make a somewhat three-dimensional drawing of the connections between those structures. And just ask you to take this in without trying to hold on to all of this, lots of information, then we'll have an experience in just a moment. This is Alex Gray's chakra imaging, the artist Alex Gray. And then I want to just share a couple other things that are not, I don't have slides of them. So I'll have to do a separate share. Let's see how to do this. Stop share. Let's just come back and absorb for a minute before I share anything more. Actually, let's do our experience, and then if we have time, I'll show you a couple more diagrams, but that I can also send to you because they're just have documents, and I can send any of these slides to you actually. So before we do the experience, are there any questions that you have or clarifications? Yeah.
Can you say again how these glands communicate with each other or resonate? You used the word, you made like beads.
So they do so physically through the chemical communication of the hormones through the bloodstream.
Okay.
So they do, when a hormone is released, it's released into the bloodstream, which means eventually it's going to affect the whole body.
Right.
Different from the nervous system, which also, but is directed and electrical and very fast. This is going to be carried through the blood, a little bit slower than the nervous system. The blood is the densest fluid in the body. The nerve fluid of the nerve cells is the least dense fluid in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be, receptor sites that affect the different glands that are eventually touched by the hormones in the blood. So when things get out of balance, it can be pretty challenging and hard to know if you're not looking holistically at the whole system. If you're just saying, well, let's deal with this symptom or that symptom, it can be challenging to rebalance. I also kind of really wanted to show you the anatomy, but that will take more time. So any preferences about, do you want a quick glance, or should we just do the experience and then see what we have time to look at? I cannot hear you.
Quick glance. I vote for, but I'll go either. whatever.
I was saying experience first and then pictures.
Yeah, I kind of got two different. Let's do the experience. And
Whatever.
we'll see what we have time for. Um, so I want to invite you as we do this to, I will make suggestions, but you will have to find your own way. If you need to be in a different body position, you could be lying down for parts of this, sitting, you can stand. If you know, especially for the first few, you may want to find a way to lie down, but you don't have to. We can do it also sitting up. And when we would do this in our trainings, we would do it on ourselves, but then also have the reinforcement of having somebody else's hands on you to help you. And also, I'll suggest sounding, but you may find you need to make a different sound. So just maybe take a moment to find the position you want to start in. If you want to be sitting on a cushion on the floor, lying down with your knees up, I would probably suggest being closer to the floor for the beginning. And we're going to go from the bottom up. So I'll give you a minute to set yourself up. And I'm going to stay seated so I can just kind of monitor everybody. If anything comes up, I would say just go with it. And if you need to ask questions or make notes, we can do that afterwards. We're just going to touch on the whole system. So invite you to get as comfortable as you can to begin. Taking some breaths and just releasing your mind's efforts to get anything or recall anything or understand anything. We're going to begin with the perineal body. So this is the center of the base of your pelvis, your pelvic floor, and it's a little band of tissue between that connects from right to left and is located between your vagina and your anus. So you can touch yourself there if you're comfortable doing that. And we're just going to begin with some silence, breathing into and out of that place. And if you are familiar with the Ujjayi breath in yoga, which is just a tiny bit of activation of your vocal diaphragm that makes like an oceanic sound, you might want to just add that bit of sounding to your breathing. You can notice both on the in-breath and the out-breath, just that little bit of condensing of the vocal diaphragm, the vocal cords. And I'll just name that we might consider that we are in Malchut here. And you might want to, if it's easy for you to, and if you're touching that place, to keep one finger there and then place another finger right on the tip of your coccyx, your tail, which is very deep between the buttocks. And we're bringing in the coccygeal body, the two of them, in Malchut. Coccygeal body, little glandular tissue on the inner surface of your tailbone. And if you want to make a sound for the coccygeal body that also resonates with the perineal body, I might suggest that you try the lower pitches usually resonate like tuning forks with the glands. They have their own pitches, and the lower pitches resonate with the lower body glands. Often you'll feel that. And you might try the sound of O. Breathe whenever you need to. A little bit goes a long way with the glands, so just then rest in silence. Feel the effects as you begin to. This would be called activating, awakening the glands with the sound. And we're going to move now to ovaries. So to locate the touch points on the surface of your body, find first your navel and your pubic bone, a point about halfway between your navel and your pubic bone. Gently awaken that point with maybe a finger circling on that point, and then measure about a thumb's distance on either side are two touch points, either side of that center point. Those would be touch points for your ovaries. So even if the actual organs are not there or they're no longer located approximately there inside, but these are touch points that access the energy. And again, just feeling your breath as you touch those points. And we'll, one side at a time, maybe bringing up the right one first, so a little more pressure on the right side, and just a gentle sound of hey, 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 hey. If you're having trouble feeling it, you might just cough, and you'll feel that there's a movement right under your fingers. And then hey, 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 hey. So ovary relates to the ankle joint. Hey, 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 hey. And then let that side rest and give a little more pressure to the other side. See, your pitch might be different than mine, or you may be inspired to make even a different sound, but this is a place to start. Hey. Try your other side, activating that with a hey, 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 hey. Breathe. Just feeling your two fingers now, or wherever you're touching yourself, kind of balancing out the amount of pressure and intention, and seeing if you can begin to feel a connection energetically inside between those 2 points. And just let them talk to each other a little bit. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. to suggest that we are actually in Yesod here, especially if we bring in the uterus between, in the center between the ovaries, which is not really considered a gland, but is certainly activated by the glandular energy. Come right to your navel point, so just massaging perhaps and bringing up the energy. If there's tension around your navel from perhaps digestive tension of any kind, just gently massage in a circular way around your navel. Let your breath soften. Just keeping one finger on your navel, just your other hand, just gently cupping your whole abdomen. If you're lying down, feeling how your digestive tract is resting between the floor and your hand, all of your intestines and all of that glandular energy. And you can just offer a little bit of awakening to those digestive glands with a gentle hissing sound or sighing sound, whatever little bits of hisses. Or you can also feel if an area that we touch might be overactive and you want to calm it, just with silent touch. Breath, touch. So shifting your hands now, keeping maybe one hand on your navel, one finger on your navel. If you can easily reach around to where your kidney is in the back, if you can't easily touch there, just imagine or feel the floor, the back of a chair, giving some compression, pressure to your kidney. So the navel is also a touch point for the kidneys. And the kidney is going to peek out just beneath your lowest ribs there, but also the top of it is tucked up under your lowest ribs. And whatever side you're on, maybe just touching one point there, finding one point to touch that feels, oftentimes there's just a lot of muscle tension there. So just touching that, and then if you can, either with a finger imagination or the floor, and just begin to bring up a sense of that line of connection between your navel and this touch point of the kidney. And I like to just find even a little bit of movement back and forth between those 2 points. And I'm waking up that line of connection and waking up the energy of the kidney as a gland. Maybe a little bit of sounding will come through for you. I'm kind of feeling like an E sound here. E. So whichever side you're on, I happen to be with my right kidney for me, so this is Netzach. You can always take a moment to take your hands away and just feel the effects of the touch and the sound. If you feel anything coming through, maybe not, it's okay. And then switch hands so your other fingers are on your navel and the other kidney, whatever you didn't touch the first time. Just finding a spot that kind of feels like you're accessing the kidney. So if we were doing the organ, we would focus more on the fullness and the shape of it. Right now, we're just finding a point of connection. If you gently move the two fingers, the one on your navel, the one on your kidney, toward each other, that awakens, begins to awake toward and away, begins to awaken the connection. Wake up the kidney. You can also put fingers on both kidneys, or imagine that you are, and feeling just not on the surface. The surface is giving you the awakening place to imagine deeper than the surface and to feel the connection right to left. You can feel if they feel soft, mobile, or kind of hard and squeezed together. Just whatever it is, breathing and awakening. Then we move up to the adrenals, which are right above each kidney. So you may not be able to touch up that high. You can. But you can always press that area either into the floor, the back of a chair, and just invite the adrenal glands to soften down and rest on the earthier kidneys. Soften down. And I would go back to just a simple breath or that oceanic breath for the adrenal glands. Soften your tongue, soften your throat so the sounds coming through can really support the adrenals to rest. They have different functions. They're also in a loop with your pancreas and sugar metabolism, and then there's a part of the adrenals that secretes cortisol, and when we are on high alert. So we want them to be able to rest. They trigger that fight, flight, or freeze that you may be familiar with. And for me, we're still in Netzach and Hod here. That's one way. And we're about to move up to Tiferet. Not so much higher, but finding a touch point in the front for your pancreas. So if you could imagine or feel a triangle from the base of your sternum down to the most forward curve of your rib case, a triangle there, and right in the center of that triangle, finding the touch point for the pancreas. And this is the horizon between the upper and lower body, in one way of thinking about the esoteric and spatial relationships of the glands. See if you can, what happens if you imagine this as a horizon. Even if the adrenals are a little higher for you, this being kind of the bottom of Tiferet. And if you could imagine two triangles, bigger triangles, from between your 2 feet to the top of your head, one triangle, imagine that. And from your 2 hands to the bottom of your pelvis, another triangle, making a kind of Magen David. Pancreas right in the middle of that.
Where is it again? Where are we touching?
We're touching right in, it's a kind of solar plexus area, but it's right in the middle of a triangle between your xiphoid process and the most prominent, the curving of your ribs in the front, where they start to curve backward. And right in the middle of that pancreas touch point. And we can try, if you want, a sound there of an ah, 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 ah. Breathe, feel. Maybe you can even feel the front of your spine there, behind the pancreas. So we're in Tiferet, at least I'm inviting that possibility. And we're going to stay in Tiferet as we move up to the xiphoid process, which is the very bottom of your sternum. If you press there a little bit, oftentimes it's like a tail that goes inward and about an inch back. The thoracobody, the breathing gland. Again, the oceanic breath. And then moving up to the middle of your sternum, touch point there. It could be a little bit tender when you find it on the bone. The touch point for the heart bodies that are inside the wall between your 2 ventricles in your heart. And this last, the 3 that we've just done, so pancreas, thoraco, heart. You might be able to imagine that that is really the whole Tiferet center, that it has some height, some depth, some width, a little bit, this place, and bringing the sound a little bit more expansive and upward and on an ah, ah, third, fourth chakras. Breathe, feel. Come up to the top of the sternum, tapping the top of the sternum. It's called the manubrium. Behind it, the thymus gland, this gland of the immune system, the gland of valor. As you tap, if you open your elbows to the side a little bit, and tap with your fingertips, maybe evoking the sense of chesed and gevura here. Ah. This is the place where our ape brothers and sisters will gently beat their chests. Ah. Rest. A little bit goes a long way. Coming up to your throat chakra. So this is 5th chakra. And if you feel your Adam's apple swallow, you can feel with the fingertips the point of it. It moves up and down when you swallow. Just below that is going to be your thyroid gland, which is shaped like an H straddling your windpipe right below your Adam's apple. And on the back of that, the parathyroids, 4 little dabs of glandular tissue. Growth, metabolism, voice, support for the voice. Maybe a little bit of hissing here to awaken the tissue. And then some sounding. You can find your vowel, A perhaps. A. This is thyroid, is the vitality of the voice. A. If it's stressful, do it very quietly or not at all. A. 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 Hey, 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 hey. And the parathyroids have a very different quality. They're much more refined, almost silvery. So an oo sound is helpful for the parathyroids. You can, I'm just going to make one sound, but you can actually work with each one of them. And it's as if you're finding a little thread for each of those 4 points on the back of your thyroid gland to draw the sound out, to activate the gland. Breathe and rest. So we come to the glands of silence now, the carotid bodies. So for me today, these are still in Chesed and Gevura. And we have right underneath the angle of your jaw, if you can find that, and down and a little bit inward. There's a little depression there. And this is the matrix of silence, really, not so much a sound. Could be a little tender in there. You can almost feel the processes of your cervical spine when you press in there, or perhaps you could feel the sides of your hyoid bone, but it's actually a little glandular tissue right in the bifurcation of the carotid artery where it splits into two and moves up toward your brain. Just breathing, and we often activate this by saying a phrase and really feeling into the silence between each word. I am here. You are here. Take a moment. Feel the whole energetic scaffolding that we've awakened so far. What do you feel? Right back down to the base, bottom of the pelvis. What do you see, sense? If you're asleep, that's fine too. We're going to finish up with the head glands. So coming to the third eye, this is pituitary. We'll kind of bring them in one at a time. So for me today, pituitary is da'at, consciousness. It's a lower reflection of keter, which we will not, it's not keter, not in our bodies. And then mammillary bodies, if you go to the center top of your head, fingers on either, just on either side of the center line, projecting down and in underneath your cortex, presence, present time, presence. Chokhmah, the highest of the glands. So we have da'at, chokhmah, and then coming to your birthing crown where the whorl of your hair is, a little bit back and a little bit down. If you project from your fingertip, just wake it up with a little massage and then project downward and forward slightly. Pineal gland, the gland of darkness, bina. So maybe you want to touch your third eye, pituitary, which is behind the bridge of your nose a little bit, and your pineal gland. And you'll then have to feel, imagine the mammillary bodies, a little bit of an arc amongst those three. Chokhmah, bina, da'at. The sounds for these are, at least the way I have experienced it, are some of our highest pitches I'm just going to do a little bit. A little bit goes a long way, but you can begin to feel the energy perhaps awakening in a different way in your head, and also the relationship, the arc amongst these three. So we know in the Sfirot, Chochmah, Bina, always together, never separate. Da'at is a reflection of Keter. Don't know if Zoom will let you hear this, but if you need to ground your head, you can come to kind of a child's pose and place your forehead in connection with the floor and just earth and ground the whole system. Actually, coming to child's pose is a great idea. And if you lift your pelvis up a little in the air when you're in child's pose with your forearms on the floor, if this is available to you, or you can also just do this with your head on a sofa or chair, a soft armchair, but just to rock a little bit. Head to tail, just letting the energy of all the glands integrate, head to tail. All the glands and their connections with the Sefirot. Perhaps. It's a lot of layers. We didn't name the chakras, but we could also map that on. So just invite you to move in silence for the next few moments. Silence perhaps brings in Keter, but also we want to ground it back through Malchut. You might want to press against the floor or the walls or furniture as you're moving. Give yourself some compression. Bring yourself back into your physicality or your fleshiness, muscles, bones. Express and contain this energy. If you need to shake or stretch in any way, but just taking some movement and quiet. And very gently, we'll just come back together. You might want to see if you are coming back to vertical, taking your time to do that in some way. How does your verticality feel with this, having climbed this energetic ladder before we sit? And noticing, just noting for yourself if there are places that feel more active and energized in your ladder, certain rungs of it, or triangles of Sfirot, and others that feel less present, just to note that information for yourself. As we come back together, we'll see how it is. Maybe if we can all unmute, and if we just have a minute or two to share. I always try to shorten the experience, but I can't do it. I can certainly stay on a few extra minutes if anyone wants to, but if you must leave, that's fine too, because we want to hold to our time. But yeah, anything that you want to ask or...
I have to leave. I want to thank you very much. I feel energized. I feel, yes, that there's something going on. There's like a flow. It's very positive, very, very positive. So thank you very much. And dear SEEs, love to you all. See you in the next secular year. Bye-bye.
Take good care. Yosa, bye-bye.
I like two things. At the end, when you said this rocking, then a seahorse feeling came, and that because also of this oceanic sound, maybe that brought me into a different experiencing. I will explore that more because that felt deep for me, deep, rich. I don't know, but a seahorse. But one question is this, how you call it, the pancreas point. Can you explain that more? Because I felt, did you connect that with the solar plexus in the middle?
I guess we do have to mute because there's feedback when we're unmuted, unfortunately. But yes, I didn't connect it with the solar plexus, but it's in that same area.
Okay.
But I think, this work is worth continuing.
Yeah.
When we get back together and we can look more at the anatomy of it. But the pancreas starts in the center of the depth of the body, and it moves backward on a diagonal, the actual physical structure of it, toward the left side, toward the back of the body. So it's sort of closer to the front of the spine than the other organs that are in that area. And we can always look at the connection. I mean, the pituitary also is really part of the nervous system. In fact, all these head glands are also part of the nervous system. So we can look at the relationships there too. Yeah, but it's pretty much the same area as solar plexus. I didn't say that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, anything else that wants to be voiced? We're at our time, but yeah, Rivka.
What a deep, deep sensing. And, like you were saying earlier about how the glands are relational. I mean, what a deep way to become, I can barely speak. In relationship with oneself, like in a very deep sense. Oh, wow. Yeah, I would love to do more with this. And I'm very curious about that pancreas area as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can also work with this in movement. And when we work with the pancreas in movement, as the image I gave was this, a six-pointed star from feet to head and hands to tip of the tail. And then there's a way of letting the pancreas, everything organize around the pancreas as you move, which is a very different way of moving. And it recalls the starfish pattern that we do in the developmental work, but that center is the navel. That's the lower center. So this is a little bit higher horizon. And to think about this as being the horizon between upper and lower body is very interesting, instead of placing that much lower down. And then it makes it understandable for me that maybe Netzach and Hod come up higher than my legs start much higher. Yeah, Evelyn.
I would love to explore movement around these centers and yeah, focused on, you know, a center and whatever, the movement around it. My body kind of wanted to stay flat and it wanted to move. And so that was an interesting sensation. And I really appreciated, and just for me, it was very strong, was the sort of imaginary scaffolding that was not just, you know, linear, but I loved the way you made us draw this inner star, but then there were stars everywhere going on. And that was, it just reminded me of those really complicated images of the tree of life, you know, where they're all imbricated in these different ways, and I could begin to feel some of those pathways light up. And so I really would love, I'm looking forward to exploring further all of this. And maybe, you know, I need to learn a little more about chakras, I think, because I know a very, you know, loose knowledge, not anything very deep. So that was awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank
I'll be
you.
curious at some point to know why those sounds, and, you know, how we sound is so important to me, and personally how I produce the sounds is powerful. So that was really interesting too. So okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's communal experience around the sounding over many generations of students, but you can also explore on your own and see what happens. Like at the end, I don't know if you could even hear me on Zoom on those high sounds. You could. They're bell-like, and when I do them, oh my God, I really do have to ground myself afterwards, but the voice just loves it, you know, and maybe not everybody can find that because it takes some exploration of those upper registers, but it's interesting when you begin to do it from the point of view of resonating the glands as opposed to trying to sing a song or something. It takes you to a whole nother level. Same thing with the lowest sounds, which are very much like the Tibetan monk chanting with the overtones when you go down there. And there's all like, this is a very advanced practice that we did today that's many layered. So it takes time to unpack it, but and your desire to both be still and experience and to move is, to me, like a natural expression of the different levels of working with this. There's the awakening, you know, which feeds into balancing, which feeds into aligning, which feeds into expression and witnessing. So you want to do it all. And it helps to separate it out a little bit so that you get more fluency and familiarity with what's really there. And then when you go to express, you have so much more range. You have many more possibilities. Yeah. Yeah. So anything else before we sign off for this Christmas day?
I'll just say a couple of quick things. One is to dovetail off of that, the highest sounds of the E and the lowest of the U. In the Cherokee basic meditation, she works with all the chakras and she works with the 3 on top, and the soundings were very, very similar. Not all of them were the same, but I found that incredibly fascinating. And then the other piece experientially was, in a way, the whole verticality felt contracted, but so much more present and lower. But it was a very different experience of verticality. Usually it's the lengthening that I feel, and I felt a whole different experience of verticality. That's about all I can say at the moment.
That makes total sense to me, because
Yeah.
when you're connecting these places, it's like you're filling in the dots, and you know, it gives you that sense of there, and there's a natural rebalancing that happens. Like,
Right. And I
if-
felt that because my knees were bending differently.
Mhm.
But finish what you were saying. Please finish your sentence.
There's Rivka saying in the chat, thank you for
Oh.
naming. Yeah, she felt that too. Yeah, I mean, it's like if I need to extend more and I approximate, then the extension will happen. If I need to condense more and reconnect inwardly and I approximate, then that will at least be what I perceive. It happens. So
That's my seahorse.
yes, it's a natural, as soon as you touch 2 points together, there's already a rebalancing and a realigning that's happening. Sometimes you'll also feel like, oh, it's torqued. The connection is twisted. And if I just stay there, it begins to unwind. You know this as a body worker too. So yeah. So see what happens. I mean, might not last the feeling, but okay.
Thank you.
okey-doke. Thank you, Simona. Thank you, everybody. And we're gonna sign off. Have a beautiful last night of Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All right.
And
let's
Diane, will you come with a proposal of your next offering with the Sefer Yetzirah or this?
yeah, it's not till February, right?
All
And
right.
did
Okay.
I'll send you all the dates. I was proposing every other month. And I was also thinking about inviting a few people who have studied with me for quite a while, but not in embodying spirit. I have to rethink that because I don't know how anyone could jump in here. I think a couple people could, but I don't know. Yeah, but I'll send the dates for all next year, every other month. And I think it's worth continuing with this. Maybe we'll see how it begins to come together in some way with Sefer Yetzirah and the sounds and the letters. And also Simona has offered to share more too around this. And so for right now, I can't think too far ahead. I can think sabbatical month, January sabbatical.
Wow. Well, I just want to say my comment to the work is wow. And
Yeah,
thank
wow.
you.
Mm.
I don't really have I can't access that part of my brain right now. So
I totally get it.
thank you for taking me away.
Swim in it for as long as you can.
All right.
Love
Happy
you all.
Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Happy
Enjoy your
Hanukkah.
time
Bye.
off, Diane.
Yeah, enjoy
Thanks
your
to everybody.
sabbatical. All right, lots of
Bye.
love. Bye.